Welcome to MAP, the bi-weekly market access podcast hosted by me, Dr. Stefan Walzer. I am the innovator of Market Access 4.0 and a health economist by training and working in the fields of market access, reimbursement, pricing, and health economics since 2004. Discover Market Access 4.0 and unveil the future with our innovative solutions. Max Insights, our fast and easy AI-based reimbursement planning platform. Dobo, our new revolutionizing way of creating reimbursement dossiers across the globe with the first and only dossier writing AI bot. Cubo, our new AI-based objection handling platform. And Waffle, train with Waffle's virtual reality genius in an immersive environment and with an AI-based counterpart. We are Market Access 4.0. So check out our website, marketaccess4-0.com. And now let's dive into the current discussions, processes, and trends in market access across the globe. Welcome to another episode of MAP, the Market Access podcast. And today we have a very important topic, which is not only systematic literature search, but also maybe the future, which is a question mark, living SLRs. And with me today is Anna Forsythe. We know already each other for quite a while, but I'm really interested now to hear what you're speaking about with a new kind of idea, with a new kind of maybe scope, and maybe the future in the area where we're living. Anna, welcome to the show. And of course, maybe quickly introduce yourself as well for people who do not know you yet.
Thank you, Stefan. Really happy to be a part of this podcast and discuss the topic that's so close to my heart. I am Anna Forsythe. I'm a founder of OncoScope-AI, which is the company that provides a living decision support tool for physicians based on daily run systematic literature review. It is OncoScope, so it is in oncology, as you would have guessed. And that's where I believe the most unmet need is, because of just the rate of scientific discovery and publications. And truly, it is life and death in oncology. So that's where I am. Prior to that, you may have heard of me in Purple Squirrel Economics, which I was also a founder, which later was acquired by Cytel. And I was with Cytel for a bit. And prior to that, I've spent 25 years in pharma, big and small. Thank you again. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Anna. I think that's already, let's say, quite exciting. And I mean, as you already probably alluded briefly on it, like life and death and living kind of information. I mean, maybe let's try to start on a very low basis, or maybe bring everybody on the same table, on the same knowledge base. I mean, probably everybody is aware of systematic literature reviews, what it is, you need a protocol, you run it and whatever, right? So this is more the traditional, let's say, SLR. So what is, from your perspective, a living SLR?
Okay, so I'm going to speak of traditional SLR from the point of living SLR first, just to say how you would look at it. A traditional SLR is like a snapshot in space. It's incredibly thorough, but it is static. It takes, as we all know, months to produce, and the moment it's published, it's aged. And then there's a real problem in oncology, and that's why I am there, because there's a fast pace of therapeutic area. Every day there's a new publication, and you don't want to miss it because it can save life. A living SLR, on the other hand, is a dynamic and continuously updated review. So think of this as kind of like a live, living, breathing engine thing, right? So what we do at OncoScope, we automated the SLR process itself, okay? Each step of it. We use a different automation. We look at it, and at each step, and it's multi-step process, as you know, we automate. Sometimes we use AI, sometimes we use just simple programming, but we automate every single step so that the evidence, not only the new studies are published, but also guidelines, also regulatory approvals as these come out, because you can't put this in vacuum. Because for physicians, in order to prescribe, they need to know if it's also approved and recommended by the guideline and what category and so forth. So it updated daily. Now, what does that mean for market access where we are? That's a game changer in my in my opinion, because static evidence models create gaps and create delays. And I'm sure you and I have been in our career where we would produce, there's a clinical trial that's run, we would finally put that dossier together, we're in front of an HTA, and then they say, well, oops, your SLR is more than 6 months out of date, or oops, there is this new competitor and you haven't run your comparator analysis. So it makes payers confidence having a living SLR, that the evidence in front of them is current and best versus 6 months ago, which again, in some areas is not acceptable.
Yeah, no, I think this is a very good base. I mean, a couple of maybe follow on kind of questions to that. I mean, I think it's quite clear, it should be quite clear for everybody that, let's say, a day-to-day, up-to-date kind of information base is key, especially maybe in an area like oncology. But of course, as well, I mean, we know the GBA, for example, in Germany, I mean, SLR cannot be older than 3 months. I mean, that's what a lot of companies already have as an issue, right? You start planning already 8, 12 months before you do the SLR, and then you get and hit maybe the buttons for the dossiers, and suddenly everything is too old. So that's one thing. But before we maybe come to that point, I mean, you alluded already briefly on it, right? Guidelines, approvals. I mean, what is the key databases, especially maybe when thinking about, maybe start with your kind of, let's say, idea on the oncology area, right? Is it PubMed? Is it Medline? Is it all of that? And follow up, or let's say full on that, a search is one thing, but how would you envision, or maybe also do provide information? Is that a summary of the papers, a summary of the latest, or is it data extraction as a combination? How could I see that one?
So regarding the databases, the biggest challenge actually is not which database to use, but which one can be used legally, because unfortunately, there's a lot of legal implications. And considering that my tool right now is a free tool for physicians. Mm-hmm. May I repeat this? It's free, because no one believes that. Okay, it's free for verified physicians. And to give something free, I cannot do this by breaking the copyright laws. So we search public sources only. And what can we do this way? We search PubMed, which is publicly available tool, and we do not go into the PDFs and search the PDFs. And many people are going to get horrified with that and saying, oh my God, you're missing so much data. But from those of us with over 20 years, over 30 years, should I say, experience of producing these publications, we know that when you have an abstract, you're going to fit all the important stuff into that abstract. What are you going to miss? You're going to miss patient's characteristic, trial information, or you're not going to miss your PFS or OS if you have that. And if you have your quality of life, you're going to make a separate publication and you're going to put it all in the abstract, the top of the top. Now, there's a lot of information. Of course, you could have an SLR with 200 variables. But is this something that's going to help everyday treating clinicians? Absolutely not. So we do use PubMed. However, we also search clinicaltrials.gov, which, by the way, is extremely helpful. And initially people say, yeah, but public studies don't publish results. I'm not looking for published results. I'm looking for inclusion, exclusion criteria, and detailed study information. Exactly the information that is missing in the abstracts. Okay. And then we search FDA, and there's package insert. There's a lot of information there, and it's correct. And finally, the guidelines. Most guidelines are publicly available. The issue with the guidelines is these are lengthy documents that are often convoluted and often contradict with each other. So we do extract from various guidelines, review various guidelines, and then cross-check the information this way. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. Absolutely. And then of course, let's say you can kind of easily, we can nowadays say that, summarize it, but the easily brings me maybe a bit back to the AI tools, right? I mean,
Right.
What are you using
We'll
there
have to
to
talk
think?
about AI tools a lot. AI
Yeah,
tools is my pet peeve. Okay.
yeah.
Huh. There's so much noise about AI tools recently. There is so much fascination about the AI tools. But truly, you know what the AI tool is? The chat bots that we have. We are putting a fancy face on the traditional search engine, and now we're calling it intelligence. It's not intelligence. Because what are these tools mostly summarizing? Try any tool. Try it today. Try even those that claim to be the tool to go for physicians. Perplexity, consensus, open evidence. They claim to be the tool. They are, very, very rich companies, right? Well, I've tested, I'm actually releasing a series of videos about that because I use a real clinical question from physicians, and then I apply that to the tool, and then I see what I get. These tools summarize what they can find or in the sources that they search. Okay, they search the sources and then they review it, and then they very nicely summarize that, right? The issue with that is by all of them share the same thing. One, what they provide you is going to be from whatever the sources they are programmed to provide. And in most cases, it's out of date. Yes, I'm going to repeat it. You would think chat bots are as of today, as of this moment, but they are not. Because you know what they're searching for? Do you know that Perplexity and ChatGPT, 50% of their sources is Wikipedia, YouTube? Okay. So, yes, open evidence and consensus try to fix that by searching PubMed or searching New England Journal of Medicine and JAMA, but none of them are not even SLR, not even TLR. They don't apply protocol. They don't apply search string. They don't, and most importantly, none of them review the quality of the evidence. And this is the key to that, because all of us who have conducted SLRs, even the best of the best search strategies, you get 80% of noise. I mean, you're lucky, okay? Sometimes it's more, right? Till you select those gems, those studies you're going to use in your NMA, in your model, okay? That takes the longest time to select the proper evidence. And none of the chatbots do that. They just give you everything. Just try to run. And even if you search only PubMed or only New England Journal of Medicine, do you know what you get most? Review papers. You get review papers, you get retrospective studies, you get publications of studies that later have been retracted. I love that one. That's one of my favorite. You get protocols without any data, and then ChatGPT assumes this is good. Okay, or I use ChatGPT, but all of them. So the biggest difference is these are not SLRs. So we do conduct an SLR, okay? Except, yes, we do not go into full text. We try to get that information from other sources from the same studies. The key to that is human in the loop. So AI is great, but right now it is not great at everything. And when it concerning life and death, and in my case, I'm giving the tool to doctors and I'm giving them evidence. We have no place for an error. A 1% error is too much error. So the truth is, we have a human team that reviews everything at the end that AI has done. And yes, some pieces AI does really, really well and has zero mistakes. Okay. But some parts, I mean, we are humans. We have all written abstracts and we try to fit a lot of information into those 500 words. And so we change sentences around and we make mistakes on purpose in the grammar. You all know that. You all have done that. You put little dashes where the dash is not supposed to be. You eliminate commas because you think, heck, we going to fit that 500 word and not 501. And you know what happens then to AI? AI gives you some kind of OS result, except that was for a different subgroup than it thought it is. So when it comes to, and all of these tools that publish and say, oh, we're great in extraction. Yeah, if you take a perfectly nicely written, well written, 2-arm RCT primary analysis abstract, yeah, you're going to have really great extraction. However, you're always going to have 20 to even 30% that are outliers because we're humans and we like to play with the text and we like to fit a lot of information. So, yeah, first, the difference between chatbots, and I'm sorry, I kind of digressed. We don't provide, we are not a chatbot. So we don't provide summaries. You know, I ran actually a question yesterday in Open Evidence and I asked it about treatments in a specific mutation and a specific line of therapy in breast cancer. And it gave me 4 paragraphs of completely general statements and a table of treatments in ER positive breast cancer. It also gave me 1 paragraph that remained, but I don't need noise. The whole point is I'm trying to cut the noise. And I still get a lot of noise with that. And he gave me 11 references, none of which were primary references. We can't do that. And this is not reliable.
Yeah, no. And I think a couple of key things in here. I mean, one is clearly garbage in, garbage out. I think that's quite clear. I mean, that's basically what you have just said. If you don't have high quality kind of input, and in SLRs, it's basically the chosen, selected kind of literature. And even then, it's a key kind of question is whatever you have on your hands, just what was written, not only the clinical trial itself, right? It could be an RCT, placebo control, whatever you want to call it. But if you maybe have not a paper in your hands which is really well written and maybe as well similarly written between those different kind of publications in your hand, you might not get the result out of the AI-driven kind of SLR as you maybe want to have. So the key, of course, and I think I like the example with oncology, because I mean, if I'm sitting in front of a patient, or I might just see a patient, let's say soon after, I need to know not only the latest, but I also need to know the 100% correct and high quality of information. And that's, I think, a key thing, which is, I think, also a key driver by payers, even though it's not so much directly a kind of life and death kind of question and decision, right? It takes a bit longer, all of that kind of stuff. We're basically discussing about the price, right? And not so much about life and death. But if I'm a physician, that's, of course, let's say, key. Right.
So another interesting thing, I just want to bring it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, of course. Go ahead.
Do you realize that chatbots never give you numbers? I mean, people don't realize it. It describes the data. Even the most released, ASCO released a chatbot with Google Gemini, right? They did the ASCO guideline. If you look at that chatbot, if you ask that, try it out and use it, it gives you words.
Yeah.
Why? Because AI hallucinates in numbers.
Yeah.
And no one has found yet the true, you need to basically standardize your data inputs and outputs a lot and do a lot of training on similar data in order to avoid, prevent these hallucinations. But none of them give you the data. So what's the point? So great. How does that help us? And how does that help payers? So now you still have to go to original publication. Oh, and that's not attached. Oh, it's not linked. Oh, so you're on your own. So now you have to go to PubMed and find that study that they meant. And I don't know which reference it is. Okay. So how is this helpful to me? Because I still have to go at the end and search for something. So that's not helpful to a doctor, because the doctors, they're not trusting AI right now. They want to see the data for themselves.
Yeah.
So we don't give them pretty text. Yeah. We give them tables, and everything is linked.
Yeah.
So you don't trust it, you click on the link, it's here, right? So that is the biggest difference.
Yeah, no, of course. And I mean, that makes also a lot of sense. I mean, I could imagine that, let's say in an area like oncology, and you just described this all beforehand, if you're looking for maybe a kind of subgroup and the latest evidence and everything, I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Because, I mean, if I'm an oncologist and I'm looking for the latest information, maybe for one specific patient, I'm ready to go through it, right? I'm ready to basically check what is available because I need a solution. I need the correct and right solution. I think that makes a lot of sense. So maybe we can put that a bit broader, right? I mean, how would you envision maybe as well a bit of the future, right? Living SLR, market access. I mean, yeah, you have already mentioned a lot of the wishes, right? I mean, press a button and you have everything available, data extracted, up to date, blah, 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 all of those kind of little things. But the little is very important and is not easy to reach. So how would you generally envision the future? I mean, from the tool, very dedicated, very clear from colleges currently, to maybe even broader indication, broader use in market access. I mean, JCA has just been launched, so you need to have updated SLRs. What if the label suddenly changes? You need to update everything. Then you're not even speaking about national submissions, difference between the Europe, Asia, and Europe anyway. So a lot of challenges. So how would you envision the future, especially maybe with the background or with the information you've just shared with us?
I definitely think that it's going to expand beyond oncology. Probably, I'm looking to expansion in kind of a high impact therapeutic areas. So, we're going to go to immunology, we're going to go to rare disease, we're going to go to gene therapy, where it is expensive, right? Where it is expensive, because the truth is, where it is expensive, it's also busy from the point of scientific discovery. These are the same areas, right? I do not know how many submissions you have done in your life in cardiovascular. I have done, and these were in stroke or like severe subset. I have never worked on a beta blocker in my whole life. Never done that. Did a lot of rare diseases, definitely going to move there. Starting, of course, with the busy ones, because that's where the money is. And that would enable adaptive pricing models. Because the moment you have a living systematic literature review, what stops you from having a living NMA? I mean, I had it in my past job. I mean, NMAs are, sorry to say that for all my HOR colleagues, is not very complicated things, okay? In general, okay? Matched, adjusted, which is, of course, this is a standard, and you need this. We're going to have to wait till the legal people are going to get to over it. And I am sorry for all of us little people. We're going to have to wait till Googles of the universe are going to fight that battle in the legal world. But I think that battle is going to be lost for the legal people, because this is information and access to information. And at the moment that battle is won by Google, which, I hope and I think it will be, okay? We all going to expand to, PDFs, because the technology is there already. I am scraping PDFs, just not the ones of the articles, right? There's others in all the lists that I said. There's others that are PDFs. It's not the issue with the PDF, it's the issue with legal, but it's going to definitely go there. And the moment it's going to be like a waterfall, there's going to be a rolling HTA submissions, right? Evidence reevaluation, all of that. And if it's all electronically, and if it's there, and if it works on the legal, you could recalculate your models and you could connect these models, because the rest is the interactive world, that any one of us or our colleagues could all connect. I mean, there's more and more R models versus Excel models. So these easily to be, you don't need AI for the rest. I'm sorry to say that. Right.
Yeah, no. I agree. And I think that's of course, let's say a very interesting one, because I think at the end of the day, it's not so much, let's say, the methods or the technology, or maybe the combination of both. I think a lot of things are still, let's say, dependent a bit on, as you just said, on the legal environment, especially maybe with, maybe call it automated data extraction. But I think even then, of course, we need still to be let's say, cautious when thinking about the quality of the underlying document / data, right?
Yeah, I think that at the end, at the core of the decision, at this point, I believe there must be a human, at the core of the decision. You can automate a lot of steps. You need a human to say, is this correct? Because sometimes AI brings us into a completely weird place. And you don't even know, where does this come from? Okay. Why did it think that this is the type of data it thought? Because for AI, these are all just numbers, spaces, and commas, For us, this is human lives. And ultimately, that's why you do need humans. And that's why I didn't want to have a company that has another chatbot, or I wanted a team of human beings that are experienced, that understand that, and that can make the decision.
That is perfect. I think, Anna, I think those were, a great finalization of a great discussion, because it basically brings the latest discussions on AI, data generation, availability, evidence, decision making, basically really to the point. I think we still need humans, but I think even better, I think, as you said it, the humans need to be in the center or the core of the decision and the decision making. Because at the end of the day, especially in the area where you are in terms of oncology and the basis for decision making for patients, for treatments, I think it's key, because it's, at the end of the day, you start with that. It's a life and death decision, but it's beyond that. Of course, we also should apply those kind of solutions in the market access world, which still has the same kind of round and discussions. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you for this opportunity.
An interesting discussion this time with Anna Forsythe on AI linked with SLR. And I think what is very clear, and I think that's probably a bit of a repetition what we have just heard in the last couple of minutes, is human in the loop is important, and humans are the core of the decision. And I think a very important component, especially here, and that's maybe as well something for discussion, further discussion on systematic literature searches, is the quality of the data, the underlying evidence base, which are always and have always been in the center of the SLR discussions. Anyhow, I think it's very important, especially nowadays with the various AI platforms or chatbots, as Anna basically called those, some of those at least, is of course the underlying evidence. So if you do not have the best, not only clinical trial, which we always hear back, for example, by payers, but also how it's being written, then you might also have potentially maybe just a second or third best kind of solution when you ask AI, for example, to summarize. So very important, of course, OncoScope-AI is now available for oncology and especially for oncologists, but it's at least worth to have a look, especially, let's say, if you want to have up-to-date information, day-to-day information on a high quality basis. The SLR base with AI, and especially the future as well, is of course open and further up for discussions. And as Anna as well just said, it's not only the quality and the current evidence base, but maybe it's also some of the legal aspects. So watch out the space, and looking forward to the next discussions. That was an episode of MAP, the Market Access podcast provided by Mars Market Access and Pricing Strategy, which is your healthcare consultancy in the German-speaking markets. MAP is available every second week with a new episode, so watch out. And in case you might have questions, contact me directly and or visit our website on www.marketaccess-pricingstrategy.de.